Ever wondered what secrets lurk beneath those dark waters where dead men tell no tales? From actual human remains decorating the original ride to a bizarre construction coincidence involving the Louisiana Purchase, Disney's Pirates of the Caribbean hides some jaw-dropping stories behind its swashbuckling facade. The fire was so realistic, it nearly shut down the attraction, and Walt Disney never saw the finished ride that would spawn a billion-dollar franchise. Here are 15 weird facts you didn't know about Pirates of the Caribbean. Fact 1. Real human skeletons. From UCLA, when Pirates of the Caribbean first opened its doors at Disneyland on March 18, 1967, guests floating through the dark caverns were looking at something far more authentic than they realized. Every single skeleton decorating the ride's eerie grotto scenes was made from actual human bones, donated by the University of California, Los Angeles Medical Center. This wasn't some macabre decision made for shock value, but rather a practical solution to a very real problem that Disney's Imagineers were facing during the ride's construction. You see, back in the 1960s, the technology for creating realistic fake skeletons simply wasn't very good. According to former Disney producer Jason Searle, who documented the ride's history in his book Pirates of the Caribbean: From the Magic Kingdom to the Movies, the Imagineers felt that the faux skeletons available at the time were just too unconvincing for the level of quality they wanted to achieve. After spending $8 million on the attraction itself, which was more than half the cost of building the entire New Orleans Square area, settling for cheap-looking plastic bones was simply not an option. The ride had already cost as much as the rest of Disneyland Park combined, so every detail needed to be perfect. The solution came from UCLA's anatomy department, which provided real human skeletal remains that had been used for medical study. These authentic bones gave the ride an unsettling realism that perfectly matched the dark, haunting atmosphere Disney was trying to create. For years, guests sailed past genuine human skulls and skeletons without having any idea they were looking at the real thing, making their journey through Dead Man's Cove far more authentic than anyone could have imagined. Over time, as technology improved and more convincing replica skeletons became available, Disney gradually replaced the real bones with high-quality fakes. According to official accounts, the authentic remains were supposedly returned to their countries of origin and given proper burials, finally laying to rest the pirates who had unknowingly become part of Disney history. Fact 2. One skull may still remain. While Disney officially replaced all the real human bones from the Pirates of the Caribbean ride over the years, there's a persistent rumor that one genuine skull still remains hidden in plain sight. According to multiple cast members and Disney enthusiasts, this last piece of actual human remains sits mounted on the headboard in the treasure room scene, right behind the skeletal pirate captain who's lounging in bed surrounded by his ill-gotten riches. The skull in question is part of a skull and crossbones decoration on an ornate headboard, and if you look closely during your ride through, many people claim it appears noticeably different from the other fake skeletons throughout the attraction. It has a darker, more aged appearance and features small holes and details on the inside around the nose area that plastic replicas simply don't have. Several cast members have reportedly confirmed to guests over the years that this particular skull is indeed real, though Disney has never made an official statement either way. There are different stories about where this skull came from if it is authentic. Some rumors suggest it belonged to a criminal whose body was donated to science, while others claim it was donated by a Disney Imagineer who worked on the ride and wanted to become a permanent part of the attraction he helped create. The most widely accepted theory is that it came from the original batch of skeletons donated by UCLA Medical Center back in 1967. Disney blogger Jason Petros from the Ears Up podcast conducted his own investigation and believes there are actually 3 real skeletal remains still in the ride, including 2 skulls on a small island right after the second waterfall and a full torso trapped under a burning beam in the jailhouse scene. However, the headboard skull in the treasure room remains the most famous and most frequently cited example, with fans specifically looking for it on every ride through to see if they can spot the alleged real human remains that Disney supposedly left behind. Fact 3. Walt rode in a chair on wheels. By late 1966, Pirates of the Caribbean was nearing completion, but there was one major problem. The boats weren't ready yet. Walt Disney desperately wanted to experience the attraction before it opened, so the Imagineers came up with a creative solution that sounds almost comical today. They took a simple chair, rigged it up to a dolly with wheels, and pushed their boss through the entire ride at approximately the same speed the boats would eventually travel. This makeshift tour allowed Walt to see all the sets, animatronics, and special effects exactly as guests would experience them, just without the water. During this unusual ride-through, the Imagineers were actually quite nervous about one specific aspect of the attraction. With over 120 animatronic pirates and villagers scattered throughout the scenes, all talking, singing, and shouting at once, the audio created a chaotic wall of sound. The team worried that Walt would be upset because guests wouldn't be able to clearly hear what each individual pirate was saying. They apologized to him for the overlapping voices and the difficulty in understanding specific dialogue. To their surprise, Walt Disney absolutely loved it. He stopped them and explained that he didn't see it as a problem at all. Instead, he compared the experience to being at a cocktail party, where you naturally tune in to one conversation, then shift your attention to another. He was delighted by this effect because it meant that guests would hear something completely different each time they rode through the attraction. Every visit would offer a new detail or line of dialogue they might have missed before, giving the ride incredible replay value. Sadly, this chair and dolly tour would be one of Walt's final interactions with the attraction. He passed away in December of 1966, just 3 months before Pirates of the Caribbean officially opened to the public on March 18, 1967. The ride became an instant classic and stands as the last attraction that Walt Disney personally supervised from concept to near completion. Fact 4. The Louisiana Purchase price match. When Disney was planning the construction of New Orleans Square at Disneyland in the 1960s, they probably weren't thinking too much about historical coincidences, but one fascinating detail emerged that connected the theme park land directly to American history. The entire New Orleans Square area, which houses the Pirates of the Caribbean ride, along with other attractions and restaurants, cost exactly $15 million to build. Now, here's where it gets interesting. That's the exact same amount of money that the United States paid to France for the actual city of New Orleans as part of the Louisiana Purchase back in 1803. Of the $15 million spent on New Orleans Square, about $8 million went specifically toward constructing the Pirates of the Caribbean attraction itself, making it one of the most expensive theme park rides of its era. The remaining $7 million covered the rest of the land, including walkways, shops, and the famous Blue Bayou restaurant. This massive investment was unprecedented for Disney at the time, and the fact that it matched the Louisiana Purchase price tag wasn't planned, but it became a point of pride for the Imagineers and historians who worked on the project. The connection goes even deeper when you consider that the facade of the Pirates attraction was actually inspired by a real New Orleans landmark. The building's exterior design drew heavily from the Cabildo building located in Jackson Square in the real New Orleans. That historic structure served as the seat of Spanish colonial government in 1799, but more importantly, it's also the exact location where the Louisiana Purchase was officially signed in 1803. So Disney wasn't just matching the price by coincidence, they were recreating architectural elements from the very place where that historic transaction took place. This attention to detail and these strange historical parallels are part of what made New Orleans Square such an ambitious and authentic feeling addition to Disneyland when it opened. Fact 5. Disney World almost didn't get it. When Magic Kingdom opened its gates on October 1, 1971, guests eagerly rushed to experience all the beloved attractions that had been recreated from Disneyland on the East Coast. But something was missing, and visitors noticed immediately. Pirates of the Caribbean, one of Disneyland's most popular and groundbreaking rides, was nowhere to be found in the new Florida park, and the reason behind this decision was surprisingly simple, yet completely wrong. Disney executives and Imagineers had convinced themselves that guests visiting Walt Disney World wouldn't want a pirate-themed attraction because Florida was simply too close to the actual Caribbean. They reasoned that people living in Florida or visiting from the East Coast were already familiar with real pirate history and lore from places like St. Augustine, the Florida Keys, and various Gulf Coast locations where actual pirates had operated centuries earlier. The thinking was that a ride about Caribbean pirates would lack the exotic appeal and mystique it had for guests in California, who were thousands of miles away from any real pirate territory. Instead of building Pirates of the Caribbean, Disney had plans to create an entirely different attraction called the Western River Expedition, which would be paired with Big Thunder Mountain and would offer a similar boat ride experience, but with Wild West theming that they felt would be more unique to Magic Kingdom. However, Disney seriously underestimated how much people loved pirates. As soon as Magic Kingdom opened, guest relations was flooded with complaints and questions from disappointed visitors asking where the Pirates ride was. People had spent years watching Walt Disney himself promote and showcase Pirates of the Caribbean on his television programs, and they had traveled to Florida specifically expecting to experience it. The demand was so overwhelming and the complaints so persistent that Disney quickly reversed course and canceled the Western River Expedition plans. Just 2 years later, on December 15, 1973, Pirates of the Caribbean finally opened at Magic Kingdom, proving that sometimes even Disney gets it wrong when trying to predict what guests want. Fact 6. The fire chief demanded safety measures. When Pirates of the Caribbean opened in 1967, Disney's Imagineers had created special effects that were so advanced they actually became a safety concern for local authorities. The burning town scene where pirates set fire to a Caribbean village while singing "Yo-ho, a pirate's life for me" looked incredibly realistic, even though no actual fire was being used anywhere in the attraction. The entire effect was created using a clever combination of fabric strips, carefully positioned lights, and industrial fans that made the cloth flutter and wave in ways that perfectly mimicked real flames consuming buildings. The illusion worked so well that it caught the attention of Anaheim's fire chief, who became genuinely worried about a very specific problem. He was concerned that if a real fire ever broke out inside the Pirates of the Caribbean attraction, his firefighters responding to the emergency wouldn't be able to tell the difference between the fake flames they were seeing as part of the ride and an actual dangerous fire that needed to be extinguished. This wasn't just theoretical worry, it was a legitimate safety issue that could cost lives if firefighters wasted precious seconds trying to figure out which flames were real and which were part of Disney's incredibly convincing special effects. To address this safety concern, the fire chief made an official request to Disney that became a permanent part of the ride's safety systems. He required the Imagineers to install an automatic shutdown feature that would immediately turn off all of the fake fire effects if the building's actual fire alarm system was ever triggered. This way, if firefighters were called to respond to a real emergency at the attraction, they would arrive to find all the artificial flames completely shut down, allowing them to quickly identify and respond to any genuine fire without the confusion of Disney's theatrical illusions getting in the way. The system remains in place today as part of the ride's safety protocols, a lasting reminder of just how convincing Disney's 1960s-era special effects technology really was. Fact 7. 3 days to empty, 3 to refill. The Disneyland version of Pirates of the Caribbean uses an absolutely massive amount of water to create that immersive Bayou to Caribbean journey, and we're talking about 630,000 gallons of water flowing through the attraction's canal system. To put that in perspective, that's roughly the same amount of water you'd find in about 9 Olympic-sized swimming pools, all contained within the ride's 1,838-foot-long canal that winds through the show building. When Disney needs to perform major refurbishments or deep cleaning on the attraction, they have to completely drain this enormous volume of water, and the process is anything but quick or simple. It takes approximately 3 full days just to empty all that water from the ride system. The draining process has to be done carefully and systematically because the ride contains delicate animatronic figures, intricate set pieces, and complex mechanical systems that all sit in or near the water. Once the canal is finally empty, Imagineers and maintenance crews can access areas of the ride that are normally underwater, inspect the boat guidance systems, repair any damaged scenery, and perform whatever updates or fixes are needed. After all the work is completed, the refilling process begins, which takes another 3 full days to pump all that water back into the attraction. This means that just the draining and refilling process alone requires 6 days, not even counting the actual maintenance work that happens in between. The ride uses specialized industrial pumps to move this tremendous volume of water, with the main lift pumps capable of moving tens of thousands of gallons per minute when operating at full capacity. The water doesn't just sit there either. It's constantly being filtered and circulated through the system to keep it from becoming stagnant, though it's definitely not swimming pool quality, since guests aren't supposed to be touching it. These extended refurbishment periods are one reason why, when Pirates of the Caribbean goes down for major updates, it tends to stay closed for weeks or even months at a time. Fact 8. The story runs backwards in time. Most people ride through Pirates of the Caribbean without realizing they're actually traveling backwards through time. The Imagineers who designed this attraction made a very deliberate creative choice to tell the story in reverse chronological order, starting in the present day and ending with events from centuries ago. When you first board your boat and drift through the peaceful Blue Bayou, you're in the modern era, enjoying a calm evening under the stars. But as soon as you drop down that first waterfall, you begin your journey into the past. The ride opens with skeletal remains of long-dead pirates scattered throughout Dead Man's Cove, some still clutching their treasure and rum bottles. These scenes represent the present day, showing what became of the pirates after their years of plundering came to an end. The skeletons are draped in cobwebs and moss, suggesting they've been there for quite some time. As your boat continues through the caverns, you're moving further and further back in time with each passing scene. Eventually, you emerge from the caves and witness the pirates in their prime during the 17th and 18th centuries. Here they are fully alive, attacking the Caribbean fortress, looting the town, chasing after treasure, and setting buildings ablaze while singing their famous anthem. This is the height of the golden age of piracy, when these buccaneers ruled the seas and terrorized coastal settlements throughout the Caribbean. The backwards timeline was an intentional storytelling device that helped create a sense of mystery and discovery. By starting with the aftermath and working back to the action, guests first wonder what happened to these pirates before getting to see their adventures play out. At the end of the ride, as boats float back up the waterfall, you're symbolically returning to the present day, having witnessed the full story of these pirates from their final resting place all the way back to their glory days of raiding and plundering. Fact 9. Pirates originally weren't dining entertainment. When you think of the Blue Bayou restaurant today, you picture a peaceful, romantic dining experience with twinkling fireflies and the gentle sounds of the bayou while boats drift past in the darkness. But Walt Disney's original vision for this iconic restaurant was completely different and far more chaotic. The plan was to turn the Blue Bayou into a dinner theater experience where rowdy pirates would entertain guests while they enjoyed their Creole cuisine. Imagine trying to eat your jambalaya while animatronic or live-action pirates swashbuckled around your table, singing sea shanties and recreating the chaos happening on the ride just a few feet away. To test this concept, the Imagineers organized a dress rehearsal and trial dinner in 1966, inviting Walt Disney and other executives to experience what guests would encounter. The team had worked hard on choreographing the pirate entertainment and coordinating it with the dining service, fully expecting Walt to be impressed by this ambitious combination of theater and fine dining. However, as the rehearsal unfolded with pirates performing around the tables, Walt quickly realized the concept wasn't working. The entertainment was too distracting, making it nearly impossible for guests to enjoy their meals or have conversations with their dining companions. After watching the chaotic scene play out, Walt made a decisive call that would define the Blue Bayou's identity for decades to come. According to Disney historian Jim Korkis, Walt told his executives in no uncertain terms, "In this restaurant, the food is going to be the show, along with the atmosphere." This single statement completely transformed the concept, shifting the focus from active entertainment to immersive ambiance. Instead of competing with pirate performances, the restaurant would let its unique setting inside the ride itself be the main attraction, creating a serene contrast to the adventure happening just beyond the dining area. The Blue Bayou opened on March 18, 1967, the same day as Pirates of the Caribbean, and became the world's first fine dining restaurant built inside a theme park attraction, proving that sometimes the best show is simply the atmosphere itself. Fact 10. First restaurant inside a ride. When the Blue Bayou restaurant opened its doors on March 18, 1967, it made history as the world's first fine dining restaurant built inside a theme park attraction. This wasn't just a snack bar or quick service counter tucked into a corner of a ride. It was a full table service restaurant where guests could sit down for a proper meal while boats from Pirates of the Caribbean floated right past their tables. The concept was revolutionary for its time, and Disney had never attempted anything quite like it before. The restaurant sits right at the beginning of the Pirates ride, in the peaceful bayou scene where fireflies glow in the perpetual twilight, and you can hear the sounds of crickets and frogs in the background. Diners are seated at tables overlooking the water, and from certain spots they can wave to guests who are just starting their journey through the Caribbean. The atmosphere is designed to make you feel like you're eating outdoors at night in the Louisiana swamps, even though you're actually inside a massive show building. What makes this even more interesting is that the Blue Bayou almost looked completely different from what we know today. Walt Disney's original vision for the restaurant included live pirate entertainment during the meals. Guests would have eaten their Creole cuisine while watching actors dressed as pirates perform shows and interact with the diners. Disney historian Jim Korkis reported that after a dress rehearsal and trial dinner in 1966, Walt Disney made a decision that changed everything. He told his executives, "In this restaurant, the food is going to be the show, along with the atmosphere." That simple statement transformed the Blue Bayou into the serene, romantic dining experience that has become one of Disneyland's most beloved restaurants. The decision to let the immersive environment speak for itself, rather than adding live entertainment, turned out to be exactly right, and the Blue Bayou has remained one of the hardest reservations to get at Disneyland for over 50 years. Fact 11. Pirate faces were real people. When you're floating through Pirates of the Caribbean and looking at all those weather-beaten buccaneers, you might think their faces came purely from the imagination of Disney's artists. But the truth is much stranger than that. The sculptor who created many of the pirate faces actually based them on real people he spotted out in public. Blaine Gibson, one of Disney's master sculptors, had an unusual approach to designing the audio animatronic characters for the ride. He would go out into crowds and carefully study the faces of strangers, looking for interesting features that would work well for his pirate crew. Gibson would watch people as they walked by, memorizing their facial structures, their nose shapes, the way their eyes were set, and other distinctive characteristics. Then he would return to his studio and use these real-life observations as the foundation for sculpting the pirates' faces. This technique gave the attraction an incredibly authentic and lived-in quality, because the pirates genuinely looked like real people rather than generic cartoon characters. But Gibson's habit of people watching eventually created an awkward problem that forced him to go back to the drawing board. One of his fellow Disney employees happened to notice that one of the pirate animatronics looked remarkably familiar. In fact, the resemblance was so striking that it became clear Gibson had accidentally modeled the pirate after someone who actually worked at Disney. The nose was nearly identical, and other facial features matched up in a way that was impossible to ignore. When this uncomfortable discovery was made, Gibson had no choice but to completely redesign that particular pirate's face to avoid any potential issues or embarrassment for the employee who had unknowingly become the inspiration. So if you've ever wondered why the pirates on the ride look so realistic and human, it's because many of them were literally based on real human faces that Gibson encountered during his day-to-day life in California. Fact 12. A chess game, frozen in stalemate. If you've ever walked through the queue for Pirates of the Caribbean at Disney World, you might have noticed two skeleton pirates sitting across from each other in a jail cell, locked in what appears to be an eternal game of chess. What makes this scene particularly fascinating is that the chessboard isn't just randomly arranged. The pieces are actually set up in a permanent stalemate position, meaning neither player can win and the game will go on forever. It's a clever detail that suggests these two pirates died while playing, unable to make their next moves, and now they're stuck in that moment for all eternity. The story gets even more interesting when you learn what happened during a refurbishment of the attraction. According to reports, maintenance workers accidentally moved some of the chess pieces while cleaning or working on the scene, disrupting the carefully planned stalemate that had been there since the ride opened. When the Imagineers realized what had happened, they faced a problem. Nobody could remember exactly how the pieces were originally arranged to create that perfect stalemate position. The team had to go searching through old archival materials and eventually found the original concept sketches created by Mark Davis, one of the legendary Disney Imagineers who worked on the attraction. Only by referring back to these decades-old drawings were they able to restore the chessboard to its proper configuration. The pieces were carefully repositioned to recreate the exact stalemate that Davis had originally designed, ensuring that the two skeleton pirates could continue their never-ending game exactly as Walt Disney and his team had intended. This attention to detail shows how seriously Disney takes even the smallest elements of their attractions. Most guests probably walk right past this scene without realizing that the chess game has been specifically designed to be unwinnable, or that Imagineers once had to consult historical sketches just to put the pieces back in the right spots. It's one of those hidden details that adds an extra layer of storytelling to the ride, even if only a handful of chess-playing guests would ever notice the strategic positioning of those tiny pieces on the board. Fact 13. Last attraction. Walt personally supervised Pirates of the Caribbean holds a deeply emotional place in Disney history as the very last attraction that Walt Disney himself personally oversaw from start to finish. Walt had been involved with the project since its earliest conception in the late 1950s, when it was still planned as a walk-through wax museum, and he remained deeply invested in bringing this pirate adventure to life, even as his health began to fail. Throughout 1966, Walt continued to visit the construction sites and work closely with his team of Imagineers, offering guidance and making creative decisions about everything from the audio-animatronic characters to the ride's pacing and storytelling. Since the ride's boat system wasn't yet operational, the Imagineers came up with a creative solution to give Walt a preview of what guests would experience. They rigged up a chair mounted on a wheeled dolly and pushed their boss through the attraction at approximately the same speed that the boats would eventually travel. As they wheeled Walt through the scenes, the Imagineers worried that he might be disappointed because all the pirates were talking at once, making it difficult to hear individual conversations clearly. But Walt's reaction surprised everyone. He stopped them and explained that he actually loved this effect, comparing it to being at a cocktail party where you tune into one conversation and then another. He believed this would make guests want to ride again and again, discovering something new each time they experienced the attraction. Tragically, Walt Disney passed away on December 15, 1966, while Pirates of the Caribbean was still in its final stages of construction. He never got to see the completed attraction or witness guests boarding the boats for the first time. The ride officially opened to the public on March 18, 1967, exactly 3 months after his death. The Imagineering team had worked tirelessly to finish the project and honor Walt's vision, making Pirates of the Caribbean a lasting tribute to the man who had dreamed it into existence. The attraction became an instant success, validating everything Walt had believed about its potential. Fact 14. The drop serves a hidden purpose. That sudden plunge into darkness at the beginning of Pirates of the Caribbean wasn't put there to give you a thrill. The 14-foot drop at Disneyland actually serves a very practical purpose that most guests would never guess. The ride needed to transport you underneath the Disneyland railroad tracks so you could enter the massive show building where the main pirate scenes take place. Without that drop, There would be no way to get the boats into the underground caverns and Pirate Town that make up most of the attraction. When Imagineers were designing Pirates of the Caribbean in the mid-1960s, they faced a major challenge. The New Orleans Square area where the ride entrance is located sits on one side of the railroad tracks, but the enormous show building that houses the attraction had to be built on the other side. The railroad has been circling Disneyland since opening day in 1955, and moving it wasn't an option. So the creative team had to figure out how to get guests from the loading area to the main attraction space without disrupting the railroad or asking riders to get out and walk. Their solution was elegant and became one of the ride's signature moments. The waterfall drop sends boats plunging down into a tunnel that passes directly beneath the Disneyland railroad tracks. This transition takes you from the peaceful bayou setting at ground level down into the underground caverns of Dead Man's Cove, where the skeletal pirates wait. The drop is just steep enough and deep enough to create the clearance needed to go under the tracks and into the show building beyond. At Walt Disney World's Magic Kingdom, the drop works a bit differently because of Florida's high water table. The attraction can't go as deep underground, so the drop is shorter and serves more to establish the mood rather than solve a major structural problem. But at Disneyland, that plunge literally takes you from one part of the park to another, all while keeping the illusion intact that you're traveling back in time to the days when pirates ruled the Caribbean. Fact 15. Pirates-inspired movies. Movies reinvented. Pirates. Most people know that Disney turned the Pirates of the Caribbean ride into a blockbuster movie franchise, but what's really unusual is how the circle completed itself when those same movies completely transformed the original attraction that inspired them. When Pirates of the Caribbean: The Curse of the Black Pearl hit theaters in 2003, nobody expected a movie based on a theme park ride to become one of the highest-grossing film franchises of all time, but it did, earning over $3.7 billion worldwide across 5 films. The success was so massive that Disney decided to do something they'd never really done before, on this scale. They brought the movie characters back into the ride that started it all. In 2006, to coincide with the release of Dead Man's Chest, Disney launched major refurbishments at both Disneyland and Magic Kingdom, adding Captain Jack Sparrow animatronics to 3 different scenes throughout the attraction. They also replaced the original pirate captain in the battle scene with Captain Hector Barbossa, and added a projection of Davy Jones's face appearing in the midst of the waterfall in the cavern. Every single one of these characters was voiced by the original actors from the films, including Johnny Depp as Jack Sparrow, Jeffrey Rush as Barbossa, and Bill Nighy as Davy Jones. The Jack Sparrow animatronics were so advanced and realistic that they became some of the most technically sophisticated figures Disney had ever created at that time. The changes didn't stop there. In 2011, when On Stranger Tides was released, Disney temporarily replaced the Davy Jones projection with Blackbeard, again voiced by the original actor Ian McShane. Even the props got the movie treatment. The cursed Aztec chest from The Curse of the Black Pearl was added to the treasure room scene, and Elizabeth Swann's wedding dress from Dead Man's Chest appeared in the skeletal bar room. This back-and-forth transformation makes Pirates of the Caribbean one of the only Disney attractions where the ride inspired a movie franchise that then fundamentally changed the ride itself, creating a unique loop where fiction and theme park reality kept reshaping each other.